Back to another episode, my lords, ladies, and gentlemen. I hope you are all keeping well and enjoying your day, whatever it is that you're up to. It's been a minute or two since I jumped on to record one of these with you guys, but I work. Right, this is something I do for fun and for no other reason. So as and when I have to work and do other things, then that is where I have to be. Um, so we finished the 221B special. Well, there was no B in it, really, was there? But there were. We finished the 221 special with mention of a riddle, right? With mention of a riddle by way of which that you can get some kind of silly discount on one of the products. So let's have a look at it. Right? Let's have a look at it. So come on. Oh, here we go. Technical difficulties and whatnot. Oh dear. I need to go back and fix that. That's terrible. Where have I gone? Let's put that back in. Let's fix this live. Hang on. There's that one. There's that one. And there we go. Problems arose, ensued, were overcome. Now, this is the riddle page. If you want to look at it yourself, it is omniscient-insights.com/riddle-test. And I've set it as a challenge for the puzzlers. It took me a little while to come up with it, but here we are. In Baker Street, a curious case unfolds, where silence speaks and secrets it holds. A gentleman's study locked from within, no signs of struggle, no trace of sin. The owner vanished as if into air, but left behind his favourite chair. A half-empty teacup, still warm to touch, and open books he loved so much. On his desk, a note penned with care. The answer lies in what isn't there. A magnifying glass, slightly askew, points to a space where something withdrew. Holmes ponders the clues with a furrowed brow. The absence speaks volumes, but how? What single word solves this mystery's core, revealing what the victim bore? And it is a one-word answer. So my challenge in doing this was to find something for you guys that wouldn't be easy. All right, it wouldn't be easy, wouldn't be obvious, because I want this to be something that will task you. I want this to be something that you'll have to work for to be able to get right. So then everything else within the page gives you clues on what to do. When you think you have the answer, add it in all capital letters. This answer should be added into the coupon section. There's a picture there. I wonder if that's got anything to do with it. This page will not go away. It will last forever. I am currently blocking that though on the stream. There you go. Put me on that side. This page will not go away. It will last forever, but it will be monitored. Observe carefully and deduce shrewdly. Now, I'm a non-native speaker. What does bore mean? Sorry for my dumbness. It's not dumb. If you're not a native speaker, you don't know the language, right? But you do have Google for you to be able to do this. What the victim bore would be as in what the victim gave to you. You know how the classic Second Amendment thing is the right to bear arms. Bore is the past tense. So yeah, there you go. Once more, for those who are paying attention. See what stands out, what elements you can give life, and how many questions it suggests to you. In Baker Street, a curious case unfolds where silence speaks and secrets it holds. A gentleman's study locked from within, no signs of struggle, no trace of sin. The owner vanished as if into air, but left behind his favourite chair, a half-empty teacup still warm to touch, and open books he loved so much. On his desk, a note penned with care. The answer lies in what isn't there. A magnifying glass slightly askew points to a space where something withdrew. Holmes ponders the clues with furrowed brow. The absence speaks volumes. But how? What single word solves this mystery's core, revealing what the victim bore? So it's essentially saying, what did the victim give you? And when you've done, I added 2 of these call to actions in here. Oh, you can't see my cursor. Just as additional prompts but they both take you to the same page, essentially, right? So then you would go through buffering. There we go. You would go through and you would pop it in here. Okay. But it will be for pipes. So why did I show you that instead? Go figure. But yeah, that's everything I want to tell you about the riddle thus far. Um, it will get you access to the pipes course, and that kind of prompted the initial discussion of what I wanted to mention here. Right, when we think about these kinds of skills that we have, you can describe them simply. So many people argue about the words. I don't really care what words you use, so long as you know how to use the skills, the techniques, the models, the methods, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you call them, so long as you know how it works. The words are irrelevant to me. A word by any other name would still smell as sweet. But with that in mind, it kind of raises the question that if we are having to, read people and observe everything, that is a lot of information to deal with, right? It's a lot of things to think about in any given moment. So how does one go about doing that, right? And for me, it always comes back to the same analogy, in that we as humans, depending upon the 2 things, that are in question, we as humans find it insanely difficult to do 2 things at once, right? And I always use this as an analogy. I'd rub my stomach, but then you wouldn't be able to see it, right? Because it's patting your head and rubbing your stomach. Now, that has a visual connection to doing 2 things at once, right? Patting your head and rubbing your stomach. But really what you're doing is lifting your hand up, bringing this round, bringing this down, bringing this round again, and you're very quickly going back and forth between 2 different things. The notion of doing 2 things at once would come in terms of changing time and changing temperature, right? This type of approach. That's where the cognition the cognition challenge, sorry, excuse me, comes in. Is what I'm trying to say in that situation. So imagine the additional problems that we would face as observers of things, details, deductionists, whatever fancy word you want to use. Just the scene from Guardians of the Galaxy popped into my head. No, it's a made up word. All words are made up. They are, right? Because if there was some kind of rule to them, things like, slang wouldn't have been added to the dictionary in any other term than something violent. Right? I don't know why I'm picking on that one. There's many I could pick on. Lit being another one, right? As anything other than lighting a fire. Oh, I presume the cat has just wandered into the room because from my vision behind the monitors, the door opened by itself. But yeah, so when you think about it, what are we best served in filtering our attention through and our attention towards? Like when you look at the notion of what we see in any given moment, right? If I were to just flash this camera image up on the screen, you'd see these pictures, my movements, my breathing blink rates, glasses, hat, tattoos, watch, these things either side of me. There's far too many streams of information for us to itemize and monitor and focus at any given moment when we try to think about doing them all at once. Right? So it becomes about the filtration system that we use to monitor all of the information therein. And this is kind of one of the arguments that I had with mentalists a while back. Now, the analogy is with the mentalist properties is that we were talking about a card trick at the times, and the mentalist I was speaking to was, well, we can stack the deck and force cards and do all of this. And we were doing a memorized deck routine to try and give the impression that you'd memorized all of the cards in a short space of time. And being able to memorize a deck of cards myself, my argument was, well, why don't you just do it? Why don't you just do it? Well, then they're quite valid arguments where, well, I want to focus on performance and time delay and making it engaging and, all very performance specific reasons for doing that the way that they do it. My argument, the other side was, well, I can just craft a premise that makes my performance of memorizing the deck engaging. If I really wanted to do that, right? If I was absolutely set on doing some kind of memorized deck routine. And then they were like, well, in the moment, there's too much to think about. Again, valid. Again, valid, because they're thinking about names, slights, quirky one-liners, being, entertaining, and how much the drunk guy on the side has done. If this person over here is going to shuffle the deck incorrectly or whatever it is, these types of things. And to which my reply then is, well, just get better at memorizing the deck. Right? And that's the kind of the trade-off of the situation. We, in the moment, can become so overwhelmed by how much information is there that others by default have to take a back seat. So when it is that we don't have the mechanicry of anything even close to entertaining to filter these details through or bounce off of, how are we best suited in looking at the world to be able to make sure that we are taking it all in, right? And it kind of comes back to some would argue the main two. I wouldn't argue the main two, but just for the sake of argument, a lot of the initial practices of profiling would either come down to a top-down or a bottom-up method, which is basically where you start with the evidence and work towards the hypothesis, or you start with the hypothesis and see what the evidence gives you. Very, 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 very basically way of looking at top-down and bottom-up profiling. So in this situation, we are kind of starting with an approach in the middle, because we can enter into any situation and say that there will be all of this to see, the pictures, the movement, the physicality, the room, the lights, and what it all means in the particulars of the situation that we're in. Right? It's a fair question. But we can also say there are people, objects, it's in a location, there are actions being taken, and how do we reason through everything that we've seen in order to create something the other side? The reason this becomes particularly pertinent towards what we do and the start of a very relevant process is because it kind of connects to the work of Ken Wilber in the integral theory. Right? If you want to go and research that to your heart's content, do so. Mr. Wilber is a flipping genius. Personal opinion. Personal opinion aside. But in those moments, we have a way of looking at the world towards a desired end that takes care of everything that exists. It is when you keep going into it and going into it and going into it. Visually in my head, it's a little like, have you seen those videos that are just the endless drawings? The person keeps zooming in on the screen and it goes into an eye and then into a planet and then into a world and then into a living room and then into a beach and then into these other things. That just keep going, and that's the kind of the same premise. You use the container of that one drawing to hold everything else. So you use the container of people to think about, the thermodynamics of movement. Right? You use the container of objects to think about ocean, the big five, the actual objects, the purpose for them. You use the location to think about the situational framework of the particulars of the context that you're looking at, right? The living room of a house in Stoke-on-Trent will be very different to the living room of a house in Portugal. I don't know why I picked on Portugal either, but there we go. Yes, I do. That's something else. I'm not going to tell you just yet. I'm going to Portugal to work with some guys to bring something pretty paradigm altering forward soon. But I'll let you know more about that as it comes up. So why am I telling you all of this? Because it depends on how you approach your training, right? You can think about all of these books that you have to read and courses that you have to take and situations that you're not in to practice. We in the world of having a big topic to look at are very, very quick to go, well, this is wrong, this is challenging, these are all of the barriers in my way. Hello, Jennifer. Nice to see you. Kind of. Kind of. If we start to think about things in a way that allows us to connect to moments, even though the moment contains everything, it is about reframing our understanding of what it is that we're getting involved in and not being afraid of the practice that is connected to. I don't like mastering. But it's the same reason I don't like the term expert. It implies that you've stopped learning, that you've stopped doing something, right? Um, but it is really the only way to gain some kind of competency in the material, right? And it, you one could make the argument that that you do have the better view because it's one way. I mean, it would be weird if it was just an audio stream of a podcast, right? It'd be kind of pointless. Yeah. And plus, Jez is a handsome man. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. But this kind of brings us back indirectly to the mentalist analogy. And I taught my method to this guy, and it was easy after practice, and he found that the more he used it, the more comfortable it became, the more he could do it in different situations, and then the more things he could interact with informationally in a given moment. It is just about to him whether it was the right routine, whether it was the right thing for him to do, which is a perfectly justifiable. I don't even know if that's the right word, but it's a perfectly justifiable thing for performers. Performers will do things that are pertinent, relevant towards their own unique style, towards their own unique ways of doing things. Whereas us who use these materials for non-performance can't have that, right? We can't have that. So he found that reframing his understanding of everything he thought that was going to be the problem was a kind of pinprick that started the whole thing. Hey Pascal, sorry, I've just seen your you're here. Master Ben, you're going to give me an ego, well, an even bigger ego, depending upon who you ask. One of these days. Pascal's in my real life Sherlock group. We meet on Saturdays, and we're coming to the end of the first year, about to start year two. But I'll give you some more information about that towards the end. So when I'm talking about what's really in a deductionist's toolkit, what's really in a people reader's toolkit, what's really in a insert whatever word pleases you the best toolkit, right? It is an ability to reframe your understanding of a particular moment that is nothing to do with your personal biases or opinions of it. That's really it, right? And that's that's what a lot of my friends find annoying. Like the American elections coming up, I talk to everyone on both sides of the encampment. Ben, what's your decision? Doesn't matter to me. I live in England. Right? We've already made our mistakes over here. But this is the point. I'll pop that one on screen, Pascal. The best course ever. Thank you. Courtesy of a well-placed bribe. No, but this is the point, right? My default now is to observe a situation. When it's time for me to give an opinion on it, fine. I'm more than capable of doing that. But when it's time for me to develop a deductive hypothesis, that is something completely different, because that doesn't involve me. If it is that you're looking at a moment and struggling to rather feel that you're struggling to monitor the movements, the blink rate, breathing rate, what his arms are doing, what his legs are doing, what he just said, how that correlates to what they just said and when they said it, what their clothes mean, do they have any tattoos, what's that work symbol on the uniform that they've just mentioned, how long have they been married, cat people, dog people, smokers, non-smokers, traveling soon, walked here, changing here. Right? If you're thinking about the elements in that particular way, you're not as focused on the things that you can control. Right? And if you think about there's another one, Pascal. Right? The temperature of the room. If you're thinking about things in terms of I can observe people, I can observe objects, I can acknowledge the location, I can follow the actions, and my reasoning skills are such that I can connect it all together. Is that not more digestible? Right? Doesn't make it easier, but it's more digestible to get all of this information in your head, right? It is like the first time I mentioned to people that it took me about 2 hours to memorize the London Underground, the whole of it. That's it. And every time I put on the Muse album, Origin of Symmetry, I get a top up. I mean, every time I go to London as well, I get a top up. But you got it, mate. The only thing you can control is yourself. Right? It's like I'm trying to think of words to the effect of what I hear without giving away personal information. I'm always struggling to make deductions. Cool. Always? Every time? When you look at a door without opening it, do you know what's on the other side? That's a deduction. But you can't see through the door. Don't be pedantic about the doors that you can see through with windows in. I'm just using an analogy right now, right? This is the moment. If we get more of a connection towards reframing our particular opinions of what is actually happening in any given moment, we realize that we don't matter. We're just there to bear witness. And in a way, it comes back to that time travel metaphor, right? In that if we could go back to a different situation, it wouldn't be the same situation because we are going back, right? If we're observing a situation and we make a read in that's if I use you guys, and it's a gathering of like-minded individuals in a situation, the second I go and interact with it, it's different because I'm there. And that's the thing that so many people forget in the earlier stages. So when you think about what's in the toolkit of a deductionist, I don't want you to think about this in terms of itemizing individual skills, right? Because like the musical instruments I play have nothing primarily to do with deductions I can make about people, and yet I'm going to be better equipped to spot a guitarist, a drummer, a pianist, and so on and so forth by virtue of that experience that I can bring towards the moment. So many people think about starting up this way of life as bringing in extraneous things, learning the new. Make better use of what you already have. It is just about reframing your understanding and how you connect to it, right? One of the very first things that I do in every session that I run with somebody new or a new group is get them to go straight into this very simple process I have, but get them to go straight into a test, a challenge, flashing a picture up on the screen and tell me about this person. And to this day, of the I don't know, thousands of people that I've worked with, nobody misses. Nobody misses, because that first thing is about reframing your understanding of what you already have in there, right? If you are, I don't know, a paramedic, right, then you have a wealth of knowledge that you can bring to the deductive table already by virtue of your experience. You, this is a great point, Jennifer. We'll come back to that in a second. I'll pop that on the screen. This is a great point. I'll come back to that in a sec, because it is, and it can, 100%, 100% it can. Hello, sleuths. Hello, sir. Right, but this is the kind of this is the point that I'm making about capacity and capability. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Right, we can bring them both forward together. Now, to Jennifer's point, in terms of experience can also cause biases. Hang on, what's a particularly gratuitous phrase? From Snatch, you bet your bollocks to a barn dance it can. Right? What does it take to remove a bias? It is that reframing of an understanding of what we're already seeing. If you look at the cognitive bias of the Baader-Meinhof effect, you can say that because you are more aware of something, the more likely you are to see future implications of it, right? So if you look at something like PTSD, regardless of what it is that gave you that, as the future rolls out, if anything pops up that is even slightly connected to the reason for your PTSD, you are going to immediately be more aware of that by virtue of your experience. It's the Baader-Meinhof effect. You know, if it is that you're driving to work and you're running late, you'll only focus on every red light. You won't focus on the green ones. You'll delete those from your memory. You just get irritated about the red ones because they're making you later. Right? So when you're reframing this understanding of your capacity in a moment, what you're building into you is a kind of self-critical analysis, right? Is this really what's happening, or is it my experience informing it? Because we live in the world of the softer sciences, let's call them, right? Because people aren't equations. I've said it many times. My friend Bob likes to say behavior isn't binary, right? It all means the same thing. If you and me, Jennifer, we're in the same situation and the exact same things happen to us, we'll react in different ways, right? Because we're different people. And that's the kind of the same approach here. So if we can build into ourselves from the ground up with this reframing sensibility, there is more likelihood, as an inductively reasoned process, there is more likelihood that we'll be able to mitigate the influence of any bias that pops up, right? If it is that you know a doctor sees somebody in an office, a GP practitioner that sees the same things day in day out, you know, someone with a stuffy nose and eyes watering. It's kind of November, December time, cold and flu season. Somebody walks in, they might just immediately go, COVID or rhinovirus, standard cold. I would be willing to bet that statistically, GPs will ask a few questions first. A few questions first. Allergies, for example, might be one that is considered at that particular moment, right? This is the element that we look to build into us, right? Because what you're doing from the moment is you are removing your propensity for making a judgment. A judgment is an emotive decision. It's a reaction. You know, I think this is the way because this is this way because I do, right? And those who achieve those points, fine, but then experience a moment of reflection. This is going back to critical analysis and when they might change their mind or, you know, be more open to new experience. The O in ocean, which is why I referenced it earlier, right? The notion of biases is such that we can never turn them off anyway. But the more experience we get with mitigating their influence is huge. It's huge, right? Like I was saying to some of the guys in our productive communications course the other day, I'm about as religious as I am a potato, right? And some would argue that I look like a potato, particularly first thing in the morning, but that's kind of as close as it gets. And yet, I have Muslim friends, Christian friends, deeply spiritual friends, Hindu friends. I don't have any Amish friends. I've never met an Amish person. Um, but you know, this is this connection to the fact that even though I am aware of a lot, I know very little. Right? Think of it that way. Even though you are aware of a lot, you know very. I could identify as a potato. Um, I am carb filled and delicious when cooked. Maybe, maybe. Well, there it is. Do you see the point I'm driving at when you look at whether it be polar or pipes? Pipes is one as well that is built on the filtration system of skill as opposed to observable detail. So it's the other direction. It is from the ground up. So it's built on mindset. It's built on. Um, I missed that a lot by comparison. It's built anyway. Pipes. I missed the context for that comment, Jennifer. A lot by comparison. I don't know what that particular comment was in connection to because I didn't see the time that it came in. But yeah, pipes. It's built on a mindset, memory, deception detection, objects, putting it all together, pressure testing. Right? These are skills, but it's not 356 million skills. It is just a few that then lead to more ideas, that then lead to more, that then lead to more, that then lead to more, that then lead to more. Right? When you think about cultivating the mindset for anything, right? There are people that write books on an athlete's mindset, or an accountant's mindset, a teacher's mindset, a deductionist's mindset, whatever you want. And the books can give kind of a false analysis that it's 227 pages or whatever it is to be able to have that kind of strong mindset, when really you could think of it as just focusing on these three things, because that's the same for my mindset tactics. You focus on three things because it's what those three things mean, right? If I can within a moment focus on polar or pipes, or if my mindset is slightly askew for whatever reason, I can focus on these three things to fix it. It's much easier than having to go to point 17 paragraph B in your memory palace to pull up anything. It's not effective, right? So you think about sharpening what it is that you do. Those are the things that are in a deductionist's toolkit. Learn everything that you can, read everything that you can, but file it away accordingly. File it away accordingly. Don't stock your memory palace simply because you can. It is cool, but it's not effective if it's not stored correctly, right? It is directly connected to a Bruce quote for me. I never get the words spot on, but it's as in word for word. A sculptor doesn't add clay to the mold; he chips away until the truth is revealed, and that's what we're doing here. 100% Pascal. 100%. It's good to have tools, but they're useless if you don't make it your own. Another one that Bruce used to say was, me and you can have a suit made of the same material, but it will fit us in very different ways. Right? And yes, I'm one of those internet D-bags that quotes Bruce Lee, but I like his philosophy. I think he was a very smart, very disciplined, very insightful character. So yeah, that's that. Just as an update about year 2 of Real Life Sherlock. I haven't actually updated the group about this yet either, Pascal, so it's kind of good that you're here. I'm going to be updating you guys directly about it on Saturday. But I'm going to be advertising for those that want to join us for the second year very soon. So if you're hearing about it now and you want to join, stay tuned. Stay tuned. We have a Facebook group that we all meet in. It's called Omniscience, as in omniscient plural, omniscient. And we all meet in there. It is a paid membership, just to kind of get that out on the table, a monthly paid membership. But we have a lot of fun, and there is a lot of pressure testing. There is a lot of skills being learned, and a lot of thank you, Pascal. There is a lot of, most importantly, in my opinion, practicals, right? Because I want these things to be aspects that you can use, not just something quirky that you heard in a virtual meeting one time, right? Because I could talk about quirky stuff until I'm blue in the face. I want you to be able to use this. I want you to be able to, make it work for you in the moments, right? So stay tuned for that. I'll be putting out details soon. One of the things I will say straight up is that if you want in, it's a year. There are contracts and everything, but I am a human being. If you want out afterwards, I can let you out. It's fine. I'm mainly looking to gain my reads on you guys who join in the earlier stages, right? So you can join in with us live, but it will be being developed into a monthly subscription that you can get through Omniscient as well. So you can still join in there. It's just whether you want to join in live and get the debates and the group chats and like we were talking about the the connection towards IQ. I'm going to float the game of Secret Santa in there. We played it last year in one of my groups, and well, yeah, I'm not gonna go too far into it as they hear. But yeah, so there you go, guys. That's what's really in Sherlock's toolkit. It is the ability to reframe his own understanding of a moment that removes himself and his opinions from it. All right, I'm going to love you and leave you, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.